Today I will be going to share my Qualcomm interview experience as well as the written test pattern of Qualcomm written exam. In the written test, there were three sections. So the first section was of aptitude. In that aptitude, we were asked questions from topics like pipes and systems, data interpretation, and there were also some reasoning kind of questions. And the second section was computer basic. In that computer basic sections, we were asked C programming related questions, and we were given a code. We have to guess the output, and there were also some data structure questions as well. Along with data structure, there were some operating system questions also. Moving on to the third section, which was the domain related section. In that domain related section, there were some choices. I have chosen VLSI as my domain choice. In VLSI, there were some questions based upon VLSI design, digital electronics, analog electronics, and some EDC and network questions were also there. Each section was having a time limit of 30 minutes, and it was an individual time limit of each section. And after that, I was called for the interview. Firstly, he asked me about KCL and KVL. He was checking that whether my basics are good or not. So after KCL and KVL, he asked me about Thevenin's and Norton's theorem, and I was sharing my screen and also drawing the circuit and explaining him about the theorem. Then the next question was from communication system. He was asking me to explain Shannon's theorem, but at that point of time I was not able to recall that theorem. Then I said, sorry, sir. He was okay with that and moved on to the next question. Then he asked me to explain the types of power dissipations. So I explained him about the three types of power dissipation: static, dynamic, and the short circuit power. So then the next question he asked me that can you design OR gate and AND gate using 2:1 multiplexer? So it is a very common question if you are preparing for VLSI interview, then this question is very common. Then he asked me to draw an OR gate, a CMOS OR gate using the MOSFETs. The next question was draw the graph of I versus V in of a CMOS inverter. I versus V in, not V in versus VI. First I drew the V in versus V out graph. Then he said this is not the graph. Then I drew the correct one. Then he asked me some puzzles. And then he asked me what are the subjects you are currently studying in your curriculum. So then I answered I am studying advanced mathematics, digital image processing, advanced computer architecture, and DSP processors. So he asked me uh, which DSP processors are you studying in your curriculum? Then I answered him that we are studying Texas Instruments C5X series. So then he instantly asked me why do we need DSP processors in spite of we are having a core processor in our system. So then I explained him a bit that to distribute the work of a specialized form to a different kind of processor. So all the DSP processing like convolution, MAC operation, which is multiply and accumulate operation. So if we are requiring this process repeatedly, we are requiring this process. So this will not disturb the work of CPU, which is prioritized. So other unit will be processing this. So this is the same reason we are requiring GPU also. So the graphic processing unit, which is required for our viewing any screen, maybe laptop or mobile. So this task can be done separately by using GPU processors. So that core processor is not disturbed for doing its own prioritized task. So he was actually in convinced by this answer, and then he asked me some signal and system questions like fast Fourier transform. He asked me to code the fast Fourier transform, but I was not able to code. I just said him the logic and explained the diagram of that butterfly diagram of fast Fourier transform. Then he asked me Fourier transform of a square wave form. Then he asked me to write its mathematical equation and do solve that. So I was able to solve a bit, but then in at one point of time he also helped me in solving that. And after that he asked me to draw sync waveform and also write its mathematical expression. So I did that. And the last question was, I was given a equation y equal to something function of a b c d, and he was asking me to draw a k map. So I drew that and my interview was over, and the verdict was I was selected for the internship. Thank you.